Back here on SportsLine, our guest tonight, Vanderbilt's Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics, David Williams. A lot of interesting stuff throughout the course of the night. 15 years in charge of athletics, 27 years in academic administration as a whole. I asked you this question last week, and your answer surprised me a little bit. What are you most proud of?
If I had to do one single thing here, it would have been bringing Perry Wallace home. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. I thought that showed the power of sports. Here was an individual who meant so much to this university and this city that left, and there was a rift. And sports was the vehicle that started the bringing them back together. So I would say bringing Perry Wallace home. I mean, there's a lot of things that's really nice, but if it's only one, that has to be it.
Well, what a life he lived, and to have him come back in the last few years, so good to see in the city and at Vanderbilt for sure. To go along with that, you're the first African-American Vice Chancellor in Vanderbilt history. How much pride do you take in that accomplishment?
When I came here in 2000, I was kind of overwhelmed. I mean, everybody wanted to talk about that, and I was like, I think the pride I take in it is, as I step away from it, there has been a second, a third, a fourth. And so that's the pride in it. If I was the first and that helped open the door, and that door started to get filled in, then that's I mean, that's really all the first is. It's just, you know, I mean, it's funny because I think it was Larry Doby. I'm not sure who it was. But, you know, Jackie Robinson was the first.
That's
but
right.
2 weeks later, there was another. And no one remembers that. But I think if you ask Jackie Robinson, if he could tell us now, he would probably say that was very important. That if him opening the door got that next guy in, then it was worth whatever you had to put up with. And so I think that's the important thing. I have to tell you, one of the more funniest things that happened to me in all of that, and I really haven't told anybody this. I'm watching, I guess it was, what game was it? Nevada. And I saw number 27 off our team run off the field. And I think that was the time when it hit me of just how old I had become. Because as I watched it, I remembered watching another 27 run off the field at Ohio State. That young man's dad. That was Eddie George's son.
Yeah.
And I remember Eddie George as a freshman, sophomore, and junior and senior at Ohio State. So I've seen two 27s go off, and it's like, okay, it's time to go sit down somewhere.
And you've seen many other young men and women grow up through your programs as well. One of the other things that struck me is before we got the chance to talk with you, several of the football players were doing their weekly media session, and several of the young men up there talked about how they looked up to you because of your accessibility, because of being the first African-American in your position, and all of those sort of things. What did the responsibility and perhaps the legacy now of meaning that much to them mean to you?
You know, I think my thought was I wasn't accessible. I wasn't there to create a legacy. I thought that's what we should do. I've been in where many of these kids were at. I thought that was important. My parents always told me, they used to say, do good and come home. And so that's what we did. I was very, very taken. I didn't know that was a question to him. I didn't even know that when I walked in there. And then to see that later and to get the response just has been, like I said, overwhelming. I mean, I'm happy that I was able to do that. I'm happy that I was able to play a small part in their life. You know, it's funny, sometimes we don't, what I say, can you put yourself into the change, or do you just send something to change? And it's very easy for me to say, have a good game, do good. It's actually easier to be there for you. And so it's funny that they say, well, he was accessible. They did more for me than I've ever done for them. I just love talking to them. And they'd come in and we talk about things. And the Saturday before our first game, I woke up that morning, I had a text from Jordan Matthew and his wife to tell me they had just had a baby boy.
Wow.
And the last thing I did that night, I went to the wedding of Vince Taylor. And
pretty cool.
The fact that these guys have gone and they still include you in their lives, I mean, I didn't do anything.
It certainly means a lot. And another testament to you and the job you've done there and the program you've built is a lot of former athletes have come back to work in your athletic department in various roles. I know that means a lot to you as you look forward now as the Vanderbilt starts the search. How much do you want to be a part of this process of finding your successor? And are you going to push any of those internal candidates you know very well?
No, I don't think I should be a part of the search, and I think because I think that the person that comes in, and this is a hard thing when you're around. And actually, I talked to Jeremy Foley just the other day, and Jeremy is still at Florida, and I wanted Jeremy to tell me now, Jeremy, how have you managed that you're no longer the AD, and you were the AD for 20-something years, or longer than I was. You are the legend in our business, and you're still there. How do you basically make sure that that next person gets to do it their way? And so I don't want any taint to be, well, Dave picked you, and so we're sure you got to take care of him. You got to call him and stuff like that. I actually do believe that if you believe in your product, if you believe you're doing a good thing, your product is worth hiring. And so, yeah, I'm happy to hire our people, and I think that there's some good people in the department, and I sincerely hope that the search will actually look at some of them. I think there's some people in there that can do the job.
Well, it'll be interesting to find out. We got to take our final break. We'll wrap things up with David Williams right after this.